Good morning, first graders. Welcome back to reading class with Miss Six. Today is Monday, November 2nd, 2020. And today we are going to be learning how to establish a purpose for reading. Our objective says, today I can establish a purpose for reading by previewing the text features. Okay, so last week we learned about the author's purpose for writing. Remember, we said author's purpose for writing a text. But did you know that you as a reader, you can have a purpose for reading? So last week we talked about why did the author write this book? We asked that question and we learned that writers, they can write to persuade you, they can write to inform you, or they can write to entertain you. So they have three purposes. Remember, purpose means reason. They have three reasons for writing. Authors write for a purpose, but also readers read for a purpose. So today we're going to be learning how to create your purpose for reading. And I like to illustrate this by saying, to remember the word purpose. Sometimes if you have siblings or cousins or friends, sometimes you get in arguments, right? And sometimes you might accidentally push someone. Now that's not on purpose. It was an accident. But if you go and you push them over and you mean to do it, you do it for a reason. Maybe they were calling you a name or being mean and maybe you push them for a reason. That's called pushing them on purpose. So that helps me remember that purpose means for a reason. And usually for our assignments, I tell you the purpose that we're reading a book. So we have lots of reasons for reading books. We can read books because I want you to retell the story. We make lots of Flipgrids. You can read books because we're learning how to make connections. Sometimes I tell you to read books so we can write about it. Sometimes we read books just for enjoyment, just to have fun. Just like the book flicks that I made for y'all. Sometimes we read to learn new words. And like I said before, we can make a Flipgrid. So there's lots of reasons, purposes that we read books. So let's look at some of the books that we've read this year. We've read The Bad Seed. And we also read No David, and we were working on making connections between these two books. That was our purpose. We read Please Don't Eat Me, and we were reading this to learn about author's purpose. And this was the one about persuade. He's saying, please don't eat me, and they're listing the reasons of why you shouldn't eat the fish. They're trying to convince you. Let's see, what's another book we've read? We've read Ants. And we read this one pretty quickly, but we read ants because we wanted to learn new word meanings. We learned the word antennae. And Little Red Riding Hood. This was probably one of my favorite books. And we were reading this book, we were making connections, and we were also learning to ask questions during our reading. So, first of all these books, I enjoy reading them. That's one of my purposes. You can have lots of purposes, just like all these I listed. So now when you pick a book for yourself to read, you have your own purpose for picking that book. Maybe you want to retell the story to a friend or your family. Maybe you really like the characters. The characters are just like you and you can really relate and understand. Maybe you picked the book because you like the pictures, the illustrations. Maybe you picked the book because you enjoy reading it over and over again. You enjoy the story. Maybe you pick a book because you want to practice your reading skills. Maybe you pick a book because you want to learn something new that you didn't know before. So let's do this activity together. Before you do it on your own, we're going to do it together. Here's a book. And I want you to think, why do we want to read this text? Why would you want to read this text? I'm looking on my cover and the title says, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. Now, is this book Fiction or nonfiction? Fiction fake, nonfiction real. Well, I know that mice, they really don't wear overalls and ask for cookies and draw. So I know this story is fiction. So usually fiction stories, we read them to enjoy, to just like to read. Also, you might want to pick this book because the illustrations are so cool. There's a lot of fun things that you see the mouse doing. Or you may want to read this book because you want to practice your own reading skills. What can we learn from this text? Let's look at our title. It's called How Many Seeds in a Pumpkin? And I see this is a question. So I bet in the story they're going to answer the question. So we can learn how many seeds are in a pumpkin from this story. And I wonder what else will happen. So I may want to read this book because I'm curious about pumpkins and I want to learn more. Here's another book. This one is called Read and Discover Space. Let's think, why would we want to read this book? I bet some of you out there love learning about outer space. I definitely do. Learning about the planets, the stars, astronauts that go in rocket ships into space, the moon. There's a lot of cool things out in space, and I don't know everything. So maybe my purpose for reading this book is to learn more. Great, so we just finished our activity, and now it's your turn to do it on your own for the assignment. You're going to be making a Flipgrid, my favorite. And so your assignment is, you're going to choose a book, maybe you have a book from home, or I'm going to post the BookFlex and you get to pick one of those books. So choose one book, and then on the Flipgrid, you're going to tell us the book you picked and your purpose for reading it. Remember, maybe you just enjoy it. You like the pictures. You like the characters. Maybe you want to learn something new. Maybe you're practicing your reading skills. Think about, why do I want to read this book? And then tell the class on Flipgrid. I can't wait to see the finished Flipgrids. They're always so fun to watch, and don't forget you get to watch your classmates' videos too. Have a good day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.